All right, welcome back to the anti-racism series. We are super excited for today's episode. I keep saying episode. This is not a podcast. This is making sure that we all stay anti-racist. Get it together. But for those of you who don't know, we have joined forces with Restore More for tonight. We are going to be doing a restorative circle. So it's going to be a lot different than the last 4 or 3. What are we on? 4, 5? Whatever. And so, yes, we are going to kick this off. It's going to be really great. And I'm going to hand it over to them in just a second. I will be on the back end today. I am not going to be all up in y'all business this time. I'm very happy about it. And so, without further ado, I'm going to kick it over. I don't know who's starting first, Kimberly or Claudine, but I'm going to kick it over to Restore More so that they can do what they got to do. Thank you so much, everybody who is here.
So first, I guess just thank you, Eva, so much for inviting us into this space and this community that you've built over the last several weeks and months. With all the things that are going on, I just wanted to shout you out because it's not easy to build community. And I think it's beautiful when we're able to do that in the midst of feeling super isolated and separated. It's a beautiful thing to see you having done that. And thank you for inviting us to be in this space. So we would love to learn a little bit more about you all. It's been a pleasure to see you all come off of the black screen and show your faces. That's the thing I always get nervous about. I'm like, will people show us their face or is it just gonna be me talking to black tiles? So I'm so grateful to see all of your beautiful faces. It really does make a difference, especially again, with being so disconnected. I would love to hear anything that is surprising about you. So a surprising fact or something about you that most folks don't know. I think it's always neat when we can kind of build community and relationship before we jump into some heavy work. And so one thing that folks may not know about myself is that I like to do really strange, adventurous things. So on my last couple of trips, I went cave diving with bats, which was just as scary as it sounds. And then cliff jumping is something I try to do each time I travel somewhere. So something about crazy thrills really get me going. Kim, do you want to go ahead and share one of yours?
Absolutely. I also dropped in the chat something unique about my co-founder friend, bestie, Claudine, is that she speaks Creole, which is a mixture of African and Portuguese languages. I always like to throw that out there. And her family's from Cape Verde, and they have great food. Something about me that is probably surprising or just interesting is I love to travel. So that's probably been the thing that I've missed the most in this quarantine distance experience. Claudine will tell you I like to travel by myself if necessary, but I like to go. So I was scheduled for Iceland this year. Yep, in April, and then no. So I still have the deposit. It's paid for. So whenever the world opens up again, I will be going on a trip, but that's something about me. If anyone else would like to drop anything surprising or interesting about yourself, we would love to highlight it and shout it out. Thank you for the heartfelt.
Right, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Now, one of the ways that we like to typically start off any session dealing with heavy topics is kind of just diving in and talking about how we're showing up in the moment. So Kim, would you speak to this a bit?
Yes. So here on our screen, you will see what is called a mood meter. And so this mood meter is broken up into 4 quadrants, and each of the quadrants is a color, and then it has some words. So I want you to take a moment to peruse this mood meter, and I want you to identify where you land. And when you do that, you're going to do 2 things: identify your color and word. So what color and word? Are you green and chill? Are you yellow and motivated? Are you blue and tired? Are you pink and irritated? Drop it in the chat, and we will see how we're feeling this evening. Yes, I see green and grateful, yellow and motivated. I'm green and balanced. blue, concerned, also green, green and chill, blue, a little drained. Thank you for the honesty. Green and content, yellow and excited. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the honesty and openness. This helps us, yellow and excited, yes, to feel the temperature as we're moving into our talk today. So thank you for sharing.
And so in doing that, I think it's super important that we kind of introduce just a bit about who we are. We will not bore you with resumes. But the reason Eva reached out to us to do this work is because it is literally what we do on a daily basis. And so we help organizations build capacity with anti-racism, self-awareness, and social emotional learning. And we typically do that through student curriculum, parent services, and teacher and wellness training. Over the last 2 years, we've been able to impact a ton of folks, which is a beautiful thing. And what's exciting is we will add you all to this number as well. You ever feel like you missed the joke and you wanted to be in on the joke? I saw LOL in the chat. I saw people laughing. I'm like, did I miss the joke? I want to laugh at the joke.
I'm so sorry. I was laughing for the last couple of minutes. JJ is one of my very, very good friends, and he's colorblind. So he said he didn't know the color, and
and you're laughing at JJ. I'm so sorry, JJ.
Sorry, JJ. That was not inclusive.
Oh, it's a running joke. It's a running joke.
I'm not in the middle of y'all friendship. I get it. But it did make me think, like, now we'll need to consider that, because you do want to be really mindful of like everyone. So thank you for calling it out, and sorry to put y'all on the spot. I'm just that teacher. Like, I am a former educator. Kim and I have like 30 years of experience. So when I see a joke in the classroom, that is often how I respond. Like, guys, I want to laugh. Don't leave me out. I want to laugh too. So my bad, Eva. My teacher mode surely kicked in. But this is who we are in a nutshell. And again, we were honored when Eva reached out to do this. We think it's so important, and we recognize how much it starts like at home. So yes, we do this work with educators and organizations, but most of the hardest work happens when we talk with our loved ones, because we are so invested in their thought process and how they see the world. And so we can carry a lot of the emotions that kind of come with these talks. So before we dig into like the meat of the night, we wanted to just give a few pointers about how you do this with the family member that isn't here, right? Because though you may have been able to show up and bring a family member along, it may just be you. And we want to continue to give you all like quality ideas around how to get that conversation going with family members who maybe aren't ready or may even be a little resistant. So the first thing is like, just start. We've all got to start somewhere when having conversations about race and equity and injustice. And if we avoid them, then more often than not, we'll kind of keep perpetuating the status quo. And when many of us look around in the world today, we're not feeling secure about how this country is shaping up. So it is on those of us who are committed to being anti-racist to starting. It also means keeping a loving tone with your family members, even when they vehemently disagree. I think if we're really going to build dialogue and maintain the relationships that we value, when you're explaining, debating, defending, it is super important to keep in mind that the compassionate tone is going to be most helpful. Equally, with that being said, it's so important to listen. A lot of times we can get so caught up in trying to explain or convey our point that we don't listen to the small things about where we actually have a lot of similarities. And so we find if we can listen for the through lines or the similarities with folks we disagree with, we can actually often find some middle ground. And then the last two steps are just don't make it a one-time thing. Like, again, anti-racism is this continual work towards combating racism. And in that vein, these conversations can't just happen one time with our family members and then we hope everything is fine. It has to be ongoing, and oftentimes we'll have to prompt that, and that is okay. And then finally, being sure to tell the whole story, especially as you are engaging with certain family members and their growth and understanding works, like really being sure that we paint the picture broadly, because oftentimes people are getting sound bites or snippets of information that isn't accurate. And a lot of times I know even for myself, when I'm engaging in these conversations, I spend a lot of time like reframing things into the proper context. So just recognizing that often is part of the work. But we are absolutely ready to get into hearing far more of you talking than us, which is why we love restorative practices. It doesn't uplift like a leader. Everyone is equal and everyone's voice matters and has equal space and weight. And so I wanted to lay out the circle guidelines for us so that we are all clear on how we function in this remaining time. Kim, could you do that?
Yes, absolutely. So tonight we're going to be participating in a circle round and we have guidelines. Just a quick check-in. If you could raise your hand for me if you've ever participated in a circle before. If you've ever participated in a circle before, or you could use the emoji hand. Okay, so I'm assuming if your hand is not up, you have not participated in the circle, which is perfectly fine. Thank you so very much. So for our circle, it's just an opportunity for us to be able to share. Within this circle round, each of a question will be posed, and then each of us will have an opportunity to share our thoughts or our responses to the questions. As we are doing this, we are asking that we have these 4 agreements, these 4 guidelines. One is to respect the talking piece. And what that essentially means is the person who is speaking is the person who can only speak, meaning that you aren't chiming in, you aren't interrupting them, that they have the floor. In this instance, if we were in person, we would actually use an actual talking piece that we would pass around, but we are now in digital land, so we will just mute ourselves or not speak when someone else is speaking. The next thing we're going to push you all to do is to speak from the heart. Whatever is landing on your heart, just speak it clearly. Don't worry about making sure it's in a fancy language, flowery. Even if your voice shakes, just speak. Next, make sure you're sharing just enough without rush, but also ensuring that you're leaving room for others. There are about 14 of us tonight, and with this size, we're going to maintain and stay in the group together. So we're going to have about 4 to 5 questions that we're going to pose. So we want to ensure that everybody has an opportunity to share. So share without rush, but making sure that we're leaving room for others to speak. And last but not least, honoring confidentiality. Eva and the team have created this safe space for us to convene and for you all to convene, and we want to make sure that we continue to honor that space. It is not to say that you can't talk about your experience and how it may have felt from this space, but really honoring the stories that are being told within a space and upholding them. Okay. All right.
Like, that was beautiful. The only other thing I would add to that is because we can't necessarily do like the small things that you would do in real life when someone's saying something and you agree and you'd be like, yes, you can't have that interaction. We do absolutely encourage chiming in the chat. So if someone is sharing something and it resonates with you, or you want to affirm them, offer encouragement, please do that in the chat, especially after sharing something vulnerable. It can be really powerful to like see that. So I did want to uplift that. And then Eva also acknowledged that she will stop recording as soon as we start the circle. So I really appreciate that piece of privacy. People ask me all the time, because we lead circles often, do you have a recording? And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm honoring the privacy of the people I work with. So no. So thank you, Eva, for uplifting that and just being really, really transparent about it. So we are actually going to go ahead and jump right in and launch this bad boy. And what we will do in terms of order is we'll go in the order that I see on the screen here, and I'll kind of prompt us so we know who's going next. And Kim typically will help out by dropping a typed order in the chat as well. That way that we have something to refer to and we're not constantly like, who's next? Who's next?